Before we get started, I would like to ask if there's anybody in the audience that is here for the Towers special use permit on Milliken Road. I was just going to tell you that that one has been pulled and it will not be heard until next month. So if nobody's here for that one, then I guess we will proceed. Okay, before we hear the cases, I have the guidelines for this meeting. This is a public hearing, and we are the Zoning Board of Adjustments for Putnam County, Florida. We operate under the authority of Articles 11 and 12 of the Land Development Code as amended. The primary responsibility of the board is to hear and decide appeals challenging final determinations made by the Planning and Development Services Department under the Land Development Code, and to hear and act upon requests for variances, special use permits, non-conforming use determinations, and preliminary development plans under the Land Development Code. Okay, we have a variance and special use permit today. A variance is a relaxation of the requirements of the zoning code in a particular case where, because of unusual circumstances, a literal enforcement of our zoning code would result in undue and unnecessary hardships. The zoning code permits us to authorize variances only for height, size of structure, size of yards, and open spaces. If we grant a variance, we may impose reasonable conditions on the use of the property, which must be satisfied if the variance is to remain valid. The standards we use in deciding whether or not to grant a variance are listed in Section 9.04.03 of the Land Development Code. A special use permit is special permission to use property in a fashion which the zoning classification of the property does not automatically permit. If we grant a special use permit, we may impose reasonable conditions on the use of the property, which must be satisfied if the special use permit is to remain valid. Unlike a change in the zoning classification, as a general rule, a special use permit applies only to the specific use requested in the application for the special use permit. The standards we use in deciding whether or not to grant a special use permit are in Section 12.12.03 of the Land Development Code. Procedurally, we will call each case by name and number. A member of the staff will then briefly explain to us the nature of each request. We will then take any comments from the applicant or their representative, followed by any public comments concerning the request. Please direct all comments or statements to the board and not to other people in the audience. Before speaking, we will ask each person to be recognized, come forward to the lectern, and identify his or herself by name and address. After all persons wishing to speak have been heard, we will entertain a motion from the board. This motion will be voted on by the board members and become our final order. Any decision made by this board can be appealed to the circuit court. However, any appeal must be filed within 30 days after the Board of Adjustments has rendered the final order which is being appealed. Are there any questions? Okay, before the first case is heard today, all those speaking will need to be sworn in, so will the notary please administer the oath. Okay, the first case today is Variance 20-007.
Good afternoon. This property is located at 127 Riverside Drive, Satsuma. The variance is to allow a 30-foot by 40-foot accessory structure across Riverside Drive from the main use structure. The surrounding zoning and land use are rural residential for the future land use, and R1A for the zoning. There's a future land use map. The property in question is, if you can see it in blue, and the property that the applicant lives at is across the road by the water. Future land use, like I said, is rural residential. This is an aerial photograph. There's 6 criteria that need to be met in order to, for the board to approve it. The special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, or the proposed development design utilizes innovation, planning and design, which will result in better development and will be an asset to the community. The Land Development Code, because of the small lot size of the lots by the water, have anticipated, the board anticipated that they may have to allow accessory structures across a public road or a private road to better serve with the usual items that are connected with water that need to be stored. So they did that. This is what the request is for. The parcel is right across the street. The land, the house and stuff, the driveway and things on the main use parcel are pretty much take up to 35% lot coverage. So this is about the only option he had to get an accessory structure. Second criterion is special conditions and circumstances described in paragraph A above do not result from a failure on the applicant's part to follow applicable county, state, and federal land use regulations. Obviously, the lot size of these properties, which we would not do today along the water, are so small there's not a lot of room. It's not a failure on the applicant's part, so staff believes that this criteria is met. Getting the variance requested will not confer upon the applicant any special privilege as is denied by the code to other lands, buildings, or structures in the same zoning district. Pretty much all properties in the county have the ability to have an accessory structure on their property. This just allows this particular property to have one across the street. Literal interpretation of the provisions of this ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by the other properties in the same zoning district under the terms of this code and would place unnecessary and undue hardship on the applicant. Once again, this lot's so small, he doesn't have an adequate ability to store stuff on the lot, so this provides him the same privilege that other people have. Criterion 5, granting the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of this ordinance, and as such, the variance will not be injurious to the area involved or otherwise detrimental to the public health, welfare, or interest. The proposed structure is located to be 35 feet from the lot to the west, where the nearest neighbor that way is, and 50 feet from the south, and then the front, and it's a corner lot, so the other 2 setbacks are the road, so it's pretty well set back from anybody. The variance granted is a minimum variance granted that will make possible a reasonable use of the land. Staff believes that the size of the accessory structure is not overbearing. So staff finds that the request variance meets the 6 special criteria in section 90403 of the Land Development Code and recommends approval requested subject to the following conditions. All required permits pertaining to the construction of an accessory use be obtained prior to start of construction. All structures will be elevated to the appropriate base level elevation. It is in the flood zone. If site work is required prior to construction, the appropriate site work permit will be applied for and issued prior to the start of construction, including a driveway permit. And staff is recommending that some landscaping be planted and maintained to soften the view of the accessory structure. Any questions by the board?
Any questions from the staff? Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Before we proceed, let's do a site visit roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
That's everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Mr. Alderman, would you like to come forward and address the board and add anything that staff has already told us. For the record, please state your name and address.
My name is Wayne Alderman.
Pull the microphone up to you, so.
Thank you. My name is Wayne Alderman, 130 Riverside Drive. And I wanted to purchase a property across the road so I could put a metal building for my boats, things like that, because the neighbor is blocking, I just don't have the room for my storage. We're fixing to, we want to move. This will be our permanent residence. And where we're at now, it's been a river house. We've been here for, I think, 13 years. I'm an electrical contractor out of Jacksonville, and I'm fixing to move down. And I need somewhere to store my boats and things like that. And that's, well,
Just for clarification, on our packet, it says Kenneth Alderman, is it Wayne?
yes, ma'am, it's Kenneth Wayne,
Okay,
but
Kenneth
I go by Wayne, yes, ma'am.
Everybody goes by Wayne,
Yes,
okay.
yes, ma'am.
Just wanted to make sure, clarify that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do we have any questions for Mr. Alderman? Okay, thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
All right, we have two speakers today in before I get started, anybody in the audience wishing to come forward and speak in favor of this application? No one's coming forward. Okay, we have a speaker card today for two people to speak in opposition, so I'll take one at a time. Mr. Jim, is it Malanky? Okay, would you like to come forward, please? Oh, is that the? No, this is 2007 here. Yeah, okay, wait a minute, I take that back. I apologize. I'm looking at it wrong. It is the SUP. Sorry about that. It happens one day. Okay, is there anyone wishing to come forward and speak in opposition of this variance? Okay, at this time, we will close it to the board, close it to the public, and open it up for board discussion and motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion. I move we approve variance V20-007 as it meets the criteria for variance as required by Section 9.04.03 of the Putnam County Land Development Code with the 4 staff conditions, and authorize the chairman to sign the final order.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to approve variance 20-007. Is there any further discussion? If not, all of those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, 5. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Mr. Alderman, there is a 30-day appeal process, so if there's any issues, the staff will, I'm sure, will be contacting you and letting you know if anything is askew. Anyway, thank you very much, and success on your building.
I have to wait 30 days before I pull a permit, is that what you're saying?
No, you can go ahead and pull your permit. It's just you're taking a risk if somebody files a lawsuit.
Okay.
I mean, nobody's here, so it's probably relatively safe.
Thank you. Okay, now let's get to special use permit 20-007.
This is a case to applicants are Timothy and Christine Renfro to basically update existing borrow pit in the west end of the county, 1844 and 1848 State Road 20. These are the parcels that are included in the application. Background is that property's been used approximately 35 years for a borrow pit. It's been back before the board for another approval of a special use permit back in September 11, 2008. Or September of 2011, excuse me. And they also at that time requested a variance of the height of the fence at the same time. Those both were approved. The property is not in the 100-year flood zone, and there are no known jurisdictional wetlands on the property. The soils are Candler 1 and 2, which evidently must be okay for borrow pit stuff. So we have stuff on there about dwellings and roadways and stuff like that, but that's not what that is. It's their fire service is from Station 20 in Hawthorne. Rescue is Station 87 by the Ocklaw School. This is the property in question. It's outlined in blue. You can see the parcels there to the north. It's in the agricultural future land use category. There's rural residential future land use to the south. The zoning in the area is pretty much ag, with the section over on the west that's R1, and the property also is in ag zoning. This is the aerial view of the property. This is the, basically it's not, I don't know, can't see it real well, but that's, you have the report, but that's the site plan of the property. It's a definition of a borrow pit. I won't read it all to you. It's pretty self-explanatory. There are conditions that must be met by a special use permit before it can be approved. The first one is the use is consistent with the comprehensive plan, meets all the requirements. Detailed statement of the facts and policies demonstrating compliance or non-compliance shall be included in the final development order. Staff analysis on this is the proposed borrow permit is located on a private road within the subject property and maintained by the applicant. The road in turn directly accesses State Road 20, which right now is a 2-lane highway, but it's being changed to a 4-lane divided highway. The access road with its improvements in close proximity to the principal arterial roadway support the proposed use. The applicant has not indicated the estimated maximum number of truck trips per day. This information will be required at the time of Development Review Committee review and approval. Second condition is the use is allowed as a special use permit in the zoning district in which the property is located and will conform to all applicable regulations of this code in the zoning district in which it is proposed. The short answer to that is borrow pits are allowed by special use permit in the future land use and the zoning. And this will go through the land, Development Review Committee so that all entities that look at building or land use issues will deal with, including DEP and water management. Special use will not adversely impact or unduly restrict the enjoyment of permitted uses in the surrounding area. The surrounding area in the north side of State Road 20 currently features 10 residences on parcels abutting the subject property with the potential for at least one additional existing lot to be developed. The proposed design of the borrow area will not impact the existing development of lots. Supplemental use standards required a minimum of 25-foot setback for abutting property boundaries, 100 foot from any residential structure, and either 100 feet for excavations between 10 and 25 feet or 200 feet for excavations exceeding 25 feet from any potable water well or septic system. Even with the requested variance, the residents on the property abutting the east will be unaffected. Once again, water management and DEP will be directly involved with the final approval of this project. D, the special use permit will not substantially diminish or impair property values in the area nor impede early development and improvement in the property for the permitted use. This use has been there for 35 years. It is now bigger than it was, but it still operates pretty much in the area that it does. It has not impeded property values in the past, and we do not see it impacting them in the future. Special use permit will not adversely impact nor unduly restrict the enjoyment of permitted uses in the surrounding property. The hours of operations are limited to 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Right now, obviously, because of the road construction, there's a lot of trucks going in and out, but once that road is constructed, we anticipate that it'll be substantially less. There's other issues that they'll have to do when they get with the Development Review Committee, and staff believes that when the measures are implemented, the impact on and enjoyment of surrounding areas will be minimized as much as possible. Adequate access roads, on-site parking, on-site loading and unloading berths and drainage have been or will be provided when required. As stated, the site is accessed by State Road 20 via Lake Place Road, which is a private road owned and maintained by the applicant. Requirements for further stabilization of the road and for the installation of an apron at the junction of Lake Place Road and State Road 20 sufficient to handle anticipated equipment and traffic. Truck traffic will be determined by Public Works Department and Florida Department of Transportation upon DRC review. No refueling of equipment or vehicles is to occur on the site. Adequate measures have been taken to provide ingress and egress to the property that are designed in a manner to minimize traffic impacts on the local roads. The entrance to the Barrow area is Lake Place Road. It's a private easement located on the subject property and maintained by the applicant. It serves only the applicant's property and that of one other individual who owns a residential property abutting to the north. Lake Place Road accesses State Road 20 without traversing any other properties on the or roadways. Excuse me. The combination of the number of trips, location, and proposed ingress and egress to the property will continue to have minimal impacts on the traffic flow on local roads. Adequate screening and buffering of the special use will be provided if needed. The Land Development Code has pretty stringent screening and buffering requirements. They have a variance on the 4-foot high fence, but when it goes through the Development Review Committee, the screening and buffering requirements will be reviewed and modified if necessary. H, the special use permit will not have signs or exterior lighting that will cause glare, adversely impact area traffic, safety, or have negative impacts on the area. Any signs or exterior lighting required by the special use shall be compatible with development of the zoning district and shall, at a minimum, need to meet the requirements of Article 8. The applicant has not requested any signage or lighting when DRC reviews it. They may require some minimal signage for traffic directional identification. And they'll have a requirement to have no trespassing signs in accordance with Section 30209 of the Land Development Code. There will be no undue risk to persons or property from hazardous substances. There is no refueling done at the site. No other aspect of the proposed Barrow area poses a potential threat to persons and property as a result of hazardous substances. The proposed special use will not adversely affect the general public health, safety, or general welfare of the residents of Putnam County. An application may not be denied on the basis of the Zoning Board of Adjustment making findings as to the specific manner in which the proposed use would have such an adverse impact. The part of the issue before you today is they want to have tree debris storage there. The board amended the Barrow Pit section of the Land Development Code to allow that. If they have to get a DEP permit, and they can only be clean waste. There will not be anything that's not considered clean waste to be in there. So that, I think that may be an issue that concerns some people. I have had a few calls where they thought it was going to be a C&D landfill, and that is not the case. Staff's conclusions and recommendations. Staff is recommending approval of the request subject to the following conditions, which must be met: obtain Development Review Committee approval and all necessary permits. Soil erosion control, drainage, and reclamation plans are subject to the approval of Public Works and of the Public Works Department, and they are required. The duration of the site development permit shall be for 5 years with an opportunity to renew the development permit for an additional 5 years by this board. After completion of each phase, the closure of the borrow area and/or expiration of the permit, reclamation plan must be completed within 12 months of that time. So as the process goes on, different sections of the borrow pit the reclamation plan is to get the level of the ground even to about what the surrounding area is, so it won't be a hole anymore. The maintain access improvements as required by Public Works, obtain a letter of credit /surety bond for reclamation of the site in the amount to be determined by the Public Works Department, provide proof of a permit from DEP for the yard trash disposal facility. And once again, another issue that has come up concerns impact on wells. Water Management District will be involved in that. They're not intending to go below where they are now in the pit that has been built out, and it hasn't caused any issues, so it should not cause any issues now, but Water Management will be monitoring that. Maintain compliance with applicable state, regional, and local required regulations and provide documentation of compliance as required. Maintain compliance with the provisions of Land Development Code, Section 3.02.09, supplemental standards borrow area that are not addressed by the variance request under V 1103. Any questions by the board?
Any questions? Mr. Ballinger?
I have a question. Says you need a special permit to dispose of yard waste and tree debris and stuff like that out there.
Right.
When you go out there and you go through the fence, and I guess it's the same piece of property, you see all this stuff over here on the right that's been dumped, all kinds of tree limbs and stuff. Is there a permit from the old borrow pit permit?
No, I think several of the borrow pits thought they could do that by right, and we stopped them from doing it until, and this particular one, until it came before you, and they get a DEP permit. They're already in touch with DEP and are working on that, and maybe they have it now or not. I don't know that yet, but the representatives are here and they can answer that.
Go ahead, Mr. Fisher.
I don't know who to ask, but it came up quite a few times about not refueling.
Right.
Don't they have a loader on site? How are they gonna do that?
They said they were not going to do it on site, so.
Run out of gas and
Yep. If they do, then they're going to have to meet stringent requirements by the fire marshal.
I read that, and I've got it marked here also, but my thoughts were, if they put one of those tanks on a pickup truck with that little 12-volt pump on there, they can drive down to where that thing's at, put some fuel in it, and drive back out.
They can't do it unless the fire marshal approves it, and then they have to have spot that's non-porous and all sorts of different things that do that, and they've said they're not doing that, and the representatives can tell you how they're going to solve that.
Okay.
I'm back to the tree, the debris. Is that, who, is the owner the only one that's gonna be able to dump the trees, I guess, from from the site, or is it gonna be dumped by other people outside of?
Well, it can be dumped by other people. If you've noticed, they're taking down a lot of trees with the road, and they're having a problem figuring out where to put it. So that's why we amended the code so that we could help solve that problem. DEP's involved in it, so they'll be monitoring all that.
Okay, thank you.
So this is not a codes enforcement as far as the debris that's been left on the property?
I don't know that it is or isn't.
Okay.
I know that we notified them that they had to stop, so I imagine that they must have gotten a notice of violation, but I don't know that for a fact.
Okay. I also noticed that there was when you mentioned the variance in 2011, and it said, would you say every 5 years you have to reapply for the permit? So has this operation not been?
I don't know if that variance is, do you know that, Mike?
the former owner that got the SUP, Mr. Wells, he would come in fairly regularly. He was late on one of them, but he would get that update.
Okay,
This is a new owner, so that's the best answer I've got is
okay, so
John Wells did.
basically, he had until 2016, and we said, yeah, 16 to, for
I'm
the-
not sure when the sale happened, but
oh, okay.
is it in the staff report?
I can answer that? Okay, so, but I was just wondering if this, the SUP had been in effect to where they could still take,
Yeah,
as
it
a
has
borrow-
been. I just don't know the timing of it, but I know, because I've met with Mr. Wells, I think twice since I've been here, on that when he still owned it.
okay, so you don't know if the new SUP took effect in 2016 or not then? That's just
Yeah.
something you'd have to
And
look
I
up?
can't remember the
Okay.
last I met with him.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Can I ask one other?
Go ahead, got Mr.
I
Fisher.
want to ask you, I don't remember the refueling thing on some of the last borough pits okay, was that in there?
I can't remember the
A
refueling.
spill plan is required,
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
and I will tell you,
Other SUPs.
some of the borough pits that we've approved in the past have had an area on site where they had some impervious surface and other places in place where they could refuel on site. Some of them have decided, like this applicant, to not do refueling on site. It's really up to them. If they do refueling on site, the code requires a spill plan to be submitted also.
Are those machines gonna run on air?
I'm sure that will be a question that's,
Okay.
I asked at the DRC.
Okay, all right, any other questions? Okay, thank you. All right, before we continue, let's do a site visit roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
I think that's it. Okay, let me see. Okay, we have a Timothy and a Christina Renfro. The agent is Sergio Reyes. Who is coming forward? I guess we'll find out who's coming forward to speak. For the record, please state your name and address.
Good afternoon, Sergio Reyes, 720 Southwest 2nd Avenue, Gainesville, Florida, and we are the applicant for the borrow pit. Thank you. Couple of clarification, and I'll start with the easy part. The yardways that we request, we already have a permit from the from the DEP, and I'll give you a copy. I'll leave a copy in here. But just to be clear, we only proposing yardways. That's trees removed from the roads and from anything else that's there. Nothing else is gonna go back into the borrow pit. So there is confusion about that. Just yardways, nothing else. No construction debris, no broken concrete or anything else in there.
Just trees and limbs and
yes,
stuff like
ma'am.
that? Okay.
Yeah, that's all that we are requesting in here today. Couple other clarifications. The permit, the special use permit, the current special use permit, it was applied in 2011 and it's good for 10 years. So it's still good until next year.
Oh, it's 10 years, okay.
Okay, that's the original one from the prior owner. So that's the reason we are here, and we already applied for a new permit that is gonna overlap, and the new permits are good for 5 years. So every 5 years we had to. So in 2016, probably will be here, 2026, we probably be here again, asking for a new permit, a special use permit to renew that permit in there. The last clarification, we would like to request refueling inside, and definitely something that we need to have because of the machines, they're gonna be there. there's gonna be a front loader and the trucks coming in and out. So we will submit whatever is required for the refueling facilities there inside. So it's something that they definitely would like to have inside in there because it's part of the operation of the borrow pit. So any other questions? I'll be glad to answer the question. Is here with me today is Mr. Rainfro. He's the owner and operator of the borrow pit.
Mr. Fisher?
Okay, is this just, are you just filling this, or are you also digging it out?
We are digging and filling it, both. Yes, we're removing some of the material to use in the construction of the road and filling it back with
Okay,
yard
thank you.
trash.
If they want to use
Nick,
the
get closer to the mic. We can't hear you, Mary.
Too
Bring
soft
it
a
to you.
voice.
If they wanted to use the refuel, shouldn't that have been applied for at the time all of this started?
That was the question I was going to ask staff. Since they have indicated that there's going to be refueling on site, can we approve the application today as it is? Or do you have to go back and amend it to be able to put that in?
We can add a condition that they meet all the requirements of the fire marshal.
But that won't be approved by the board. Does that matter? Oh, wait, Mike.
As a, you can add that as a condition to allow, I believe, and maybe the attorney will have a different feel, but I believe the board has the approval. You have the right to put any conditions you want on approval on the final order. So you could add a condition that if they do or
On-site refueling?
on-site refueling, that a spill plan will have to be submitted and approved by the Development Review Committee. Are you comfortable with that, George? Yeah.
As long as that meets all the requirements, the fire marshal's requirements, are
Yeah.
those separate?
Yeah.
So
We
you
could add
want
that.
both
yeah.
conditions, the spill issue and the fire marshal requirements.
And meet the fire marshal requirements, yeah.
You got an environmental and a safety issue here.
Because usually it's listed and explained the spill.
Okay, somebody got the correct verbiage for this. I want to make sure that what we put here it's going to cover everything. Or you can make the statement and we approve it, one or the other. Yeah, I said, on-site refueling.
Staff would suggest that the zoning board include as a condition a statement that if on-site refueling is desired, that the applicant will have to submit a spill plan, which will need to be approved by the county fire marshal and,
Approved by the county fire marshal?
yes, because we do have a fire marshal finally now. And approved by, as part of the Development Review Committee review.
Development
What was that last one?
committee review?
Yeah.
Doesn't it have to meet some kind of rules and regulations from the standpoint of the surface, or
Well,
is that in that?
yeah, that would be included, part of all the members of the Development Review Committee
Development of
includes
the
environmental
DCR?
issues and so I mean, from a staff standpoint, we feel that would be adequate.
Okay. You got that down, somebody? Because I can't make a motion.
Change seats.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, we'll obey by those rules and regulations and definitely will agree with all those conditions. Thank you.
All right, any questions for Mr. Reyes? Any more? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. You guys any question for the operator and owner?
Well,
He's
we're
here.
going to give somebody else a chance if they won't come talk.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, anyone in the audience wishing to come forward and speak in favor of this application? Okay, nobody's coming forward. All right, now to the opposition speaker card that I mixed up on the last one. Okay, we have Jim, is it Malinka? Malinka, okay, I was close. All right, please come forward and give us your name and address for the record.
My name is Jim Malinka, and I live at 1857 State Road 20, Unit 109, right across the street, okay? The first thing I just want to say is we're sort of getting blindsided with this because there were no, those orange signs put out, okay, none, okay, and this man said, well, they couldn't because all that construction's going on, nobody'd see it anyway. Oh, did you? Okay, I was just going by what you said yesterday. Then we're supposed to get letters in the mail telling us what's going on. Okay, well, with the virus going on and we have P.O. boxes, we didn't find out till either Sunday or Monday, and at least 4 or 5 of us never got anything from the city, you know, telling us what's going on. So we come here today, and we're hearing a lot of stuff, and I'm not necessarily against it or for it, okay, but we don't really know. We have concerns. We saw what happened to Florida Rock, okay, why they were turned down because how it impacted the lakes around there, as well as we all depend on our well water. You know, when we see yard debris, okay, and we were told that this is going to be privately owned and they're going to be able to charge people, like if I want to bring my yard trash, they're going to charge me, okay, for it. Maybe true, maybe not, okay, I mean, y'all are certainly more privy to what's going on than we are, but these are questions that, you know, we really care about. I went over there and looked, okay, at what's there. Okay, it's lots of borrow pits, okay, and it's deep. There's stagnant water there. There's trash that's been dumped in there already. And I'm not saying that they did it. I don't know how long it's been there. The no trespassing signs truly are there, but they're on fences that look like they're, 25 years old, and the signs look accordingly like that. I mean, to see it. So, we hear gunshots there at night, and it's probably a really good place to take your gun or rifle out there and practice shooting, okay? Anybody can get in. That kind of bothers us. Yes, there's a gate, but it's dilapidated, and it's not going to be used, at least now. I mean, if they're going to put a gate up, it's going to be tossed. We're especially worried how it might impact our lake. It's Cowpen Lake. It's right there. I mean, it's a beautiful recreational lake. A lot of people use it, all the way around, as you can imagine any lake would be. But we really depend on our wells, and we're wondering, if they go deep enough, are they going to mess with the water table at all? They're going to have anything there that, any wells in there to say that if the land has been contaminated or, anything like that. We worry about stuff like that. But right now, anybody can go in and out of there. They got these big machines back there. They're not going to they got to bring fuel to them. Okay, they are big. There's one back there, but I didn't do the whole property because, I was a little scared. Okay, it's big back there. Okay, they'd never find me. Okay, I'm just telling you. Okay, it's just big back there. So, but they have, at least one machine looks like it's had better days, and it'll probably end up being scrapped. And not that that's a particular problem, though. If they're going to refuel, the fuel's going to have to be brought to them. There's no way, or at least financially, it'd be stupid to come in there and have to load them up and take them somewhere. They'd make no money like that. So anyway, I guess what I'm really asking today is if you could just give us some more time that all the neighbors can get together, because there's 2 of them that are out of town. One's in the hospital, okay, and we'd like a chance to talk. We had thought, and I know in Jacksonville when something like this goes on, they have like a meeting and before this happens to take care of all our concerns. And certainly you can see why we have a bunch of concerns. So my first thing is, could you just give us, the neighborhood, a chance to all talk together? And I tried. And Barbara, the woman behind me, we went to everybody that we think is going to be on the list. We don't even know everybody that's on the list to kind of take care of this. But again, I don't want to say that I'm totally against it, but I just kind of like to know, it's not like, well, like Pelosi says, just sign it and later we'll see what it says. Okay, I don't want to be like that. Okay, I want to know what it says before we sign off. Okay, so.
Okay.
You guys want to ask me
Do
anything?
you have any questions for Mr. Malinky?
Sorry. You did not receive anything in the mail.
Nothing, okay. Barbara, the woman behind me, Barbara Kuhn, she received a letter. We didn't, all right. Then we went to the neighbors on either side of us, you know, we checked with 4 people, they didn't get anything. One person did get one, but he couldn't come, his name is Matt, and I'm sorry, I don't know all last names, okay, I apologize. All right, but he did get one. And so, and then again, I'm smart enough to know when the orange sign is up, something's up, okay, and I want to know, all right? And though I understand the heavy construction going on, and he's right, there's a lot, but I've seen signs put on telephone poles or the light poles, the cement poles, or, you know, something to let us know. But, you know, like you said, he put up the one sign and immediately got knocked down. So I don't want you to think that we're being slow to act, because that would be so wrong. That would be so wrong, okay? We care about where we live. We care about our neighborhood. And like I said, those are deep, deep concerns. So.
I have a question. Prior to this notification or the actual application today for the SUP, were you aware that there was a borrow pit that was active across the street?
We knew that something was going on there because there's trucks. Yeah, I mean, you'd be stupid not to know. You see an empty truck going in, a full truck coming out, okay? And I don't know how many times a day, but I know sometimes just standing there, you'll see 5 or 6 within 20, 30 minutes going back there with dirt and stuff and all. All right, so we knew something was going back there. You know, I'm a little concerned about how deep they might go because they've gone deep. But then again, I don't know what definition of really deep would be on the soil, just like when they talk about yard debris. Though he seemed to clarify it when he talked that would only be stuff that comes from not construction, well, I guess construction of the roads. All right, but we're worried that if they're going to take yard trash, if you will, and you know people do this, they got a big bag of leaves and they put, you know, 2 cans of paint in there and going to go toss it. And you know, at the city dump, and of course it doesn't get found out, you know, and that's real important to us that, you know, they don't have anybody to monitor it. I mean, there's nobody there now, okay, watching what's going on there. I mean, at night, if I wanted to, I could go dump a bunch of stuff back there and, you know, at my own peril, but I wouldn't do that. But, no, I don't like it. You know, like I say, anybody can get in and out. You know, they haven't talked about security around it. You know, is there going to be a fence all the way around that borrow pit so that kids won't get into it? You know, they said it's not going to be lit. You know, just lots of concerns that we just never got a chance to talk about or even ask. And they might even have some really good answers. Okay, but we just...
Well, we will always give them a chance to come back and address your concerns.
May I ask how long you've lived there?
1.5 years.
When you purchased it, were you advised that there was a borrow pit across the street?
No, but we thought the house was selling for a lot more than what we paid for it, okay? And we always wondered what that might be, you know, what the reason is that we could have bought it cheaper than market value, if you will, considerably. And so we didn't, to answer your question, just simply no.
No. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, sir, for your concern. and
Thank you, I
coming
appreciate
forward.
y'all listening to me. This was kind of
Okay.
fun.
All right, the next person is Barbara Kuhn. He covered you, okay. So, all right, is there anyone else in the audience wishing to come forward and speak in opposition? Okay, we're going to give the applicant, Mr. Reyes, or his staff a chance to address some of the concerns and questions put forth. So if you will come forward, please state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. I'm Stephanie Sutton with EDA Consultants, Inc.
Pull your mic up, please.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Stephanie Sutton, and I'm with EDA as well. Our address is 720 Southwest 2nd Avenue in Gainesville. I'd like to address some of those concerns. I made a couple of bullet points here to go over, and if you feel like I missed anything, feel free to ask more questions. We're basically asking to continue the current operation on site with one exception, which is adding the yard waste being able to be put on site. And we've already filed and received the DEP permit, which included a number of details, including a geotechnical investigation, looking at the soils, and also clarifying, and in the site plan that'll go to DRC, we are limited to stay 2 feet above the water table. So they cannot dig deeper than 2 feet above the water table, and that's been defined by a geotechnical report that we, I assume Public Works and other people will look at as a part of the site plan review. The other thing he mentioned, gunshots. So an adjacent property, not this property, but a property next door, actually has some kind of special use permit for a gun range and allows the police and people to come out there and train. So what they're hearing is not on this property, it's on an adjacent property. Planning may know more about that, or the property owner knows a little bit more about that as well. A lot of the concerns raised have been addressed through, what we have to submit for DEP. So staff has to be trained as spotters to find things, like paint cans or materials that aren't allowed, and to pick those out and dispose of them properly. That's part of the documentation we submit. They actually have to go through training through the University of Florida Trio Center. We have to provide names and all kinds of information. And we can handle some of that if the county would like it through the site plan process and DRC. The neighbors will also, I assume, be notified for the upcoming DRC hearing. And I don't know that date off the top of my head, but planning staff might be able to provide that today. So there is a subsequent hearing where we can flesh out more of these specific site plan details. And in the interim, we'd be happy to provide more information to the neighborhood before we get to that final site plan approval. So this is just one step in the process. You all aren't the final, decision makers. We still have to go get that site plan approved by DRC as well. I think that's most of what I wrote down, but if I missed anything, feel free to ask, or the owner's also here and can answer specific questions about the operation.
Okay, if you're going to have debris, and you're going to have someone to go through and make sure there's no paint cans or anything, is that going to be on a 7-hour day, Monday through Saturday, or is this just going to be a spot check?
So they're required to be there whenever the facility is open and operating. So whenever they're receiving trucks, there's staff on site to monitor that activity.
Okay, currently, I don't think there's any staff that is there on a day-to-day basis.
So when they're receiving loads, and I don't know, Tim, if you want to come and clarify, when they're receiving loads, there should be staff on hand to move it around and, get it in the right spot and direct people to where they should be going and things like that.
So this is going to be in addition to what's already happening now, because when I was there, I didn't see anybody on site.
Were there any trucks on site at that time? Was it operational?
I didn't see
Okay,
anybody.
so when it's operational, there would be staff on
Well,
site.
actually, I think
I'm not
that-
sure how they're scheduling loads particularly, but the owner can
Come to
speak
think of
directly
it,
to that.
I made it on Sunday, so I guess there'd be no one there. But the gate was open, and I could drive right through and just had nobody to stop me. So.
There's definitely not, 24-hour security or anything like that. That's not required by the current special use permit. I don't think it's typically required for borrow areas. They are, required to have staff there when they're operating, but other than that, it's definitely not typical to have staff 24 hours a day or anything like
I didn't mean
that.
24/7, I just meant
Yeah.
regular working hours. But since I do remember now, I think about it, I was there on Sunday, so there'd be nobody there, so. Okay, and also, I guess Mr. Malinke had a question about charging. Are there going to be someone charged for, if I was coming in with yard debris, they're going to charge me to dispose of it?
Yes, there would be a charge, and, typically I think they're dealing with larger construction projects and things, and so there's a fee per load, in the same way that they're charging for the dirt that's coming out of the pit. So that's, more reason that there's a staff person there to know what's coming in and out so that they can bill appropriately for it.
Oh, okay.
Is there any intentions on making it more secure, putting a gate up, putting a fence up, stopping traffic from going in and out when it's inappropriate, other than trucks?
So the existing gates were there when our client bought the property. We have currently not proposed any additional fencing, but it's definitely something that could be discussed.
Particularly maybe a gate?
Yeah.
Fencing, but a gate.
We can, I think we would be amenable to an operational gate that, would slide back and forth, particularly, when it's not operating.
Okay, thank you.
I understood that it was, I understood that it was just for debris from the highway work, which was trees and things. Now you're saying anybody can bring stuff in?
So typically, facilities like this operate more off of large construction projects. It may not be limited to just this road project. If someone's building a new subdivision down the road and doing a lot of clearing, for example, they may have dump trucks full of yard debris that would come here as well. I don't believe the intent is to become a facility that individuals and just homeowners are bringing, small amounts of yard waste. I think it's a more commercial level operation, if that makes sense. So if you had a couple of bags of yard trash from, raking your front yard, I think they would work with you to bring it, but more often we're dealing with like dump truck loads from development activity on a project like this.
I mean, people around here, I noticed, will get rid of things. I mean, they'll dump them alongside the road when you're only a half mile from the dump. And it doesn't even cost to go in. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, we can't control individual behavior. And I can definitely ask the owner if they have any, I'm sure if a particular member of the public wanted, and had large amounts of yard waste, they would work something out with them for a fee.
I don't see how you're gonna.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I know Mr. Renfro, just a minute. I know Mr. Renfro was sort of back there shaking his head and was going to get up and address, but he was not sworn in. So are you wanting to address the board? Okay, then, Mrs. Brown, we need to swear him in, please. Okay, would you like to come to the podium and state your name and address for the record?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Tim Renfro. I live at 18515 Southwest Archer Road in Archer, Florida. I operate an 80-acre C&D, not C&D, but clean debris landfill in Archer in Alachua County.
Okay.
This over here, I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to do strictly tree debris. There's several small construction companies around town that do lot clearing and stuff like that. That's the main ones that come in. The reason why I haven't had anybody out there full-time, it doesn't warrant that yet because I'm not allowed to dump anything in there as of yet. So until I am able to facilitate a person there full-time, I have to have the revenue generated to do that as well. The front fence is not put back up yet. Before, when I bought the property, it was fully fenced. Across the front, everything. When they put the road, widened the road, they took the fence out. I've got a 6-foot high. As soon as I get through and I get it graded off, I will put a 6-foot high chain link fence across the front with a recessed gate entrance. So everything will be there. So for those people bringing material in, there will be 2 20-yard dumpsters. Like an individual wants to bring yard trash in, they'll put it in a dumpster first. Then as I see that it's clean, I can take it back to the back with my roll-off trucks and dump it into the clean earth landfill part of it.
Okay, I have a question, because when you first come in the gate, immediately to the right, there's a large area that's whole, but then there's also a lot of, tree debris as you first come in the borrow pit itself?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm assuming that was put there before you purchased
Before
the
I was
property?
told to stop, I called the county up and asked first, can I still use, because in the first permit that I bought, when I bought the property, it was explained to me that it was still a borrow pit, which we understood that I could bring tree debris in.
Okay,
We've quit bringing tree debris in. We've hauled a couple loads ourselves in, which I know is clean. And after that, we've not accepted anybody else's debris. I've got people calling every day wanting to dump tree debris, especially with, when you get the winds and everything that we've had from this time of year. Everything's tore down and limbs are broke out, but anyway, I've rejected that. But I need to be able to go to work to make money
right.
and provide jobs for people that's over here. I've got 4 of my employees that I work in Gainesville, they drive from over here every day. But trying to assure y'all that everything would be done correctly. You know, I've been in business for, since '05 in Alachua County. And if you're going to get in trouble in Alachua County, that's very stringent. We have had no complaints and no violations in my landfills over there. So,
Okay, so you're going to, basically, for right now, the yard debris or the trees and stuff, are you going to utilize, when you first come in on the right, or are you going to continue to go back?
right now it'll be the one on the right.
Okay,
It'll be the one as you first drive in, it'll be on the right-hand side. And then from there, we'll actually excavate out to the depth that we're allowed to go to and continue going towards the back.
okay. Because I noticed there was some water standing in that area where the trees.
That's rainwater. We've already went through and done elevations and everything, and we knew where we had to be at with the ground in order to meet DEP's
Okay.
elevation for backfill. Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else have any? Go ahead, Mr. Fisher.
Sorry, but contractors is one thing as far as bringing stuff in, but I still don't think you're going to be able to control the public.
Okay, the public end of it is the roll-off cans. They won't dump in the back. They'll come up here in a pickup truck. They'll take a couple of garbage bags of leaves and stuff and throw them in a dumpster. We then go through that.
You're going to open
Yes, sir.
those bags and
Every
go
time.
through them.
I can't have the plastic.
Then what are you going to do? Haul them
I'll take the debris.
in cans and things and?
I'll keep there'll be a 30-yard container for unsuitable materials that will be stored on site, but it's the paint cans and stuff like that, they have to be handled totally separate.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually a hazardous waste, not quote unquote hazard, but it's considered a different waste than it is for tree debris and other types of C&D. Boards, I can't have boards out there. I can have all the tree I can have, but even in my landfill in Archer, I can't have any cut wood. So,
I know you can do this, but when you hire people nowadays, trying to get the decent job out of
trying to find people to hire, sir, is the job. I've been there, I've got 26 employees. Believe me, I understand.
I'll just say that just securing that property sounds to me like it's going to be an incredibly important piece to this for the
By all means.
community, and it sounds like to you too.
Once I get past the point of where they're gonna put their road and their ditches and they get everything graded out, there will be a 6-foot high chain link fence with a recessed gate. It'll be 150 foot approximately up into the site, so that you can pull a tractor trailer on site if the gates are closed, so that you won't be part of it hanging out in the road.
Okay, so you're going to put your gate in, well, after the road construction is over? and
Yes,
done.
ma'am, everything will change. Right now, I've got a few people hauling dirt out that I don't have they can run the equipment, they can load dirt out like almost every bar pit in Gainesville does.
They run the equipment themselves, load their trucks and then leave?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, there's Beckham Trucking is one of the biggest ones I got hauled out, and he may haul 20, 25 loads a week. They got 3 trucks, 4 trucks, but they don't haul very much. It really ain't a big operation at all.
Okay. Learn something new every day. Okay, any other questions?
I've got one.
Yes, sir.
We heard that the residents around there did not get notified properly, that
That wouldn't be his fault.
this is going to do, this is going to happen. Do you think that you might hold a little meeting just for them to explain what's going on, answer their questions, to make them feel
By all
more
means,
at ease?
I would be happy to.
I think maybe you need to match up there with Mr. Renfro, or, not Renfro,
Mr.
Malinky, yeah.
idea, thank you.
By all means. The best understanding is not to have a misunderstanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just something to try to make everybody happy.
By all means, sir. Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Renfro.
No
Appreciate it.
problem. Thank you.
Normally, we don't do this, but Mr. Malinky, you had your hand up like you wanted to say something else, so I'll give you the opportunity to come back up if you briefly and tell us what you have on your mind.
Okay,
Uh,
I'd yell it from there if you
wait a
let me.
minute. No, you have to come to the podium.
Oh.
Please, since you're speaking again, please identify yourself.
My name is Jim Malinka. Okay.
Okay?
Well, two things. The buffering zone, okay, we worry about that we're going to see, all the trees or this, that, or garbage that's there. In the standing water there, we're worried about, say, mosquitoes. Okay, if they have any plans to do something to quell that so we don't have a, real problem with that. And the thing with the trash still, first, we don't want any odor coming our way, as any of us would not want. And I'm not, and he might be able to, in talking to us, let us know that that's not going to be a problem. For us, it's like, hurry up, we got to do this. Not y'all's fault. I don't mean it like that, okay? For whatever reason, we didn't get these letters, okay? I don't know, because we would have acted on them right away. And so I appreciate what you just said. If we could all meet, that would be great. Okay, answer our questions, all of us get together. All right. Because, yeah, I do worry about, especially the yard trash. I know how people toss stuff away. I know that they come in a bag. And I understand what he's saying, but I also know how people work. I've been in business a long time. And sometimes even no matter what you pay them, okay, they want to get out of there at 5 o'clock or this or that. We went there on I think it was a Monday, and you could just drive right in and, see what was going on and stuff and all. And, I worry about that, though there's no really kids in our neighborhood, though we have grandkids that come, because I am that old. Okay, so we worry about, things like that. So we like that he is going to put up a gate and secure all the way around it. But again, these are questions that we've had but weren't answered till now, that our neighbors, as soon as we get home, they're going to go, what happened, what happened, what happened? Okay, and so I'll give them a Reader's Digest version of, what transpired here today. But we learned a lot just by, from the screens and stuff and all that we just didn't know. So, and I appreciate it. I'm not going to keep you off. Thanks again.
Okay, just out of curiosity, would staff like to address the lack of, or whether or not the footage was far enough away for the homeowners to be
Mike Brown,
notified?
Planning Development Services, just want to address the noticing requirements. I mean, we sent what the code says, every property owner within 300 feet of the boundaries of the property gets notified. And we sent those letters out. I mean, we've got copies of them, but they all went out. I do apologize for the signage. We try to do both, put up the signs also, but with the construction, it was a little difficult. But I can guarantee, because do we send those out certified, Nancy? Or no? But, well, I can guarantee we sent out, and we've got copies of everybody we sent out letters to.
Any
A copy.
returned?
Huh?
Any letters returned?
No.
Okay.
So I just, and that's consistent with what the Land Development Code requires. So, and we've run into this issue with some people are 350 feet from a project and they don't get a letter. I've run into that on other projects in the past, but the code says anybody within 300 feet, we send a letter out, and I can commit to you that we did that.
Okay.
And just one other little aside, it relates to the shooting issue, that the shots they've heard. I just want to make you aware, Dickerson Holdings owns a old borrow pit right next to this, to the Renfro property. The county shut that down over 10 years ago because he was going deeper than he was allowed and wasn't reclaiming the sides. And I know, because we've received some calls from codes about shots down in that area. But I just want to let you know, there is a separate pit that's not associated with Renfro that has been shut down for over 10 years that Dickerson Holdings holds right next to this property. And that does have standing water in it. So I just want to make sure there's no confusion over the two borrow pits.
But somebody indicated that there was an approved firing range?
No,
Oh,
there
it's
is
not an approved, so they
No,
can-
that's why I said the codes,
Okay.
we have received calls to codes
Codes, okay.
enforcement because
Well, shooting,
there was
okay.
some shooting
I
going on in that
misunderstood then.
area.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. Anyone else giving a chance to speak? Okay, at this time, we will close it to the public and open it up for board discussion and motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move that we approve special use permit SUP 20-007 as request does meet the criteria for a special use permit as required by section 12.12.03 of the Putnam County Land Development Code, with the 9 conditions listed plus the 10th condition for the refueling, recommended by staff, and the refueling, with the authorization of the chairman to sign the final ordinance.
Second.
You need a
Okay,
fire marshal in there.
I have a question. Do we need to be more specific on that number 10? As far as the refueling on site?
I believe we had it articulated on the record, did we not? What
Yes.
condition number
Okay,
10
so
was?
that'll be fine, okay.
I believe it would be fine.
All right, thank you. All right, any further discussion? If not, all of those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. All opposed? Mary, your hand is up for favor?
As
Okay.
far as it'll go.
All right, motion carries 5-0. Mr. Renfro, there is a 30-day appeal process, so whatever you need to do and work with staff, please stay in contact with them. And good luck. Thank you. And Mr. Malinke will, hopefully, Mr. Renfro will address your concerns. Okay, we have, the next on the agenda is the minutes for October 21st, 2020. Everybody had a chance to read them?
Second.
Well, I have a motion and second to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, do we have anything else on the agenda today? Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, we stand adjourned. Oops. Another day at the office.